Esther's evaluator.
Esther, I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation today, and I think the criteria here was all met. I thought that one of the things is, did the story build to a climax? And I thought you did a wonderful job of making those steps that you needed to get to the climax and get the point of your story across, which is just push through and do it anyway. So I thought that that was all there. A couple of little things that I wanted to give you. You were standing over here, and most of your gestures were very close body gestures. There were a few of them where your arms got out. But I thought that if you would have had more gestures and maybe some more movement up here, even the gymnastics, I think, would have allowed you to make some movement. And I would have liked to have seen you move from the spot where you were. You did some steps out, but I think more movement, more gestures would have really added impact to the story that you were telling us about the gymnastics. And I realize you said you weren't very athletic, but I think a couple of movements and stuff would have really added to that. With that, I'll open it up for comments from the rest of the group. Keith.
To piggyback on that, great opportunity for humor if you want to be self-deprecating about I'm not an athlete, but you know, twirl yourself and that kind of stuff. I think there's real opportunity for physical humor in what you were doing up there too, to kind of both make fun of yourself and demonstrate kind of what you were talking about.
Okay, Diana.
At the beginning, you had us really laughing. And then when you went into the story about your daughter, I wasn't totally sure where you were going. And I think I wasn't totally paying attention to during your introduction. But I thought, rather than waiting to the end to give the punchline about the momentum, I think you could have let us in. Sometimes we learn from our kids. It's surprising that we learn from our kids. And I learned a lesson about momentum, or I learned a lesson about however you want to say it. And then when you go into the story, then I'll be knowing this is leading up to something that would help me. But I love the ending and how you generalized it to apply to all of us as well.
Chris.
That was along the same lines as I was. For me, it was the title. I knew the title, and I had the worst time till the end how does that work in? How does that work in? Now, you tied it up beautifully with a pretty bow on the end of that, but do me a favor and add in, as Diana mentioned, some reference to that title in the beginning somewhere so I know, oh yes, we're on the same one. I thought for a while, maybe she wrote down the wrong title for the different. No, I got it figured out at the end, so that would help me.
Okay, Chris.
So the high points that I had were where you made it personal about you. Like at one point you were in the middle of narrating to us and you said, oh, here I'm thinking, will she make it? And that called to me and made it personal. At one point you said, it was a source of pride for me as a parent. And that was, I wanted you to say, I was so proud of her. So make it a little more personal. I think that would have really helped. You had great vocal variety around, in my singer's mind, around a root chord. So it was around the same thing, and you didn't take that up or down for emphasis. So I don't know if you know what I mean. The variety is like da 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 da. It's up and down, but all around the same kind of note, versus then going down to here and talking about this, and then going way up here. So just getting a little more variety in that to give you emphasis. Also, like that was the greatest lesson I ever learned from her, and you barely took a breath before you went to the next thing. And I wanted that to sit on me and have time to go, man, what's the greatest lesson I learned from my kids? So use pauses, because you had such great impact.
Okay.
I really liked getting to know Rachel, your daughter, and I felt that you did a good job of building to the climax of that final meet in Loveland. Was it Loveland? Yes. And I thought you could have made it a little bit more suspenseful. What were the sights and sounds and maybe the smells of this meet, with how many kids were there, and how big a deal was this thing? where she
Okay.
did nails it at the end. I thought that would have built it just a little bit more for us.
Okay.
Because I know how heart pounding those kinds of things are with your kids, and state wrestling meet for Sean was like, so,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yes, Esther?
I probably overdid it because I've been such a dance around person when I'm up speaking. I have too much energy, so I really try to stand still. But maybe this speech was one I should have moved around more on. Yeah, I really kept my feet planted because I thought I should.
There was no leg crossing, good job.
One other thing I could imagine, you know, like I almost imagine like over here was where the meet was taking place, and you're over there and like kind of, I'm on the edge of my seat and kind of, you know, there she is doing this and the coach went this, and then you could use it to sort of give us
Yeah.
a visual of it.
Yeah, I need to be more deliberate about how I use it, not because, I have a hard time standing still, you know, you tell me this often.
Okay, I think what I heard then is pauses in your speech, a little more description, and then more movement and gestures. And
Okay.
those would all add impact to a wonderful speech. Thank you.